All righty. At it again. Scott Hastings, Andy Lindahl, back in my basement. You know, I thought of you today.
Socially distanced for all the people out there.
Yep, we are not in each other's grill.
Yep, we are naked, however.
Well,
kind of.
I mean, you know.
Yeah.
Codpiece is in place.
You know what I got to say, though, Andy? I love this time of the year.
Why?
Well, don't ever make fun of the warden ever again because I just drove up your street and there's 7 houses with Christmas lights on them. But I'm talking more the weather. I've realized, you know, as I've gotten a little older, I've turned into the vest guy.
I like the vest you're wearing. I'm going vest too. I like vests. I thought about buying a second vest.
Dude, I've got first of all, I have 2 vests that are concealed carry vests, you know, that kind of put some nice little magic in the pockets and no one knows. But then I got a couple like this, you know, little puffy, little whatever. And then I bought online, you know, because I think the worst thing to me about social media and especially like Instagram, all those stupid commercials.
I know.
I mean, I've been screwed on half of them, but I bought a Yellowstone vest.
And
from the TV series Yellowstone. Oh, it's got the little logo on it. So first time I wore it out, and now it's thin, like it'd be more of a kind of a look good Kevin Costner vest, right? It's what he wears his good jeans and good boots. You know, it's kind of almost feels like a felt, if you will. I didn't even know they had felt in China, but I guess they do. But I've turned into a vest guy, and I found myself looking at my 4 or 5 vests. You know, as the weather starts to creep in, you know, I got a long sleeve, a little hoodie on underneath, a vest on top of it. I'm thinking, this is my kind of this is not my new thing.
Don't you kind of want to be a little bit of a mountain man? Because I'll be honest with you, what happens with me is, and you know, it's funny you bring up the Instagram stuff. The Instagram ads for me, it's the Instagram ads. That's the new late night commercial.
Oh God.
You see these glasses we're drinking out of? It's one of my favorite Flogging Molly songs, which people don't know, but Nathan Maxwell, their bassist, lives here in Denver. He's been on my old KOA show.
Well, there you go.
Because he has a band called the Bunny Gang. But it says on these glasses, you can't read it because I made it dark, almost like we're going to get inappropriate. But it says, because we
2 of these drinks we might.
It says, well, any port in a storm. It says, because we find ourselves in the same old mess, singing drunken lullabies. That's a song we used to play in my band. They've got it on these shot glasses, so I've ordered these shot glasses. And what adorns our whiskey tonight, although I got a Manhattan going, thank you, Stranahans. We love you. Why don't you sponsor the podcast?
Or Jim Beam like I have. Thank you.
Either way, yeah. We're not picky. Mountain, 10th Mountain, 291, Rocker, any of them. These are the Crystal Skull ice cubes. Also purchased the mold off of Instagram.
There you go.
So how do? I'm with you. Anyway, by the way, I saw a great thing on Men's Humor. Do you follow Men's Humor on social media?
Yeah. It's very funny.
Did you see their post today? It said it was a picture on Instagram of their shed. It goes, there's a look at my 2016 or my 2020 Christmas decorations. You know why? It's November. They're in the shed. So that was pretty good.
And meanwhile, if you know where Andy lives, come on by.
It's 2 houses.
And drive. It's 7 houses. Because I turned my pickup around, so I went all the way down past your block, and there's a couple more down off to the left.
Maybe I need to go unplug some things.
Well, maybe you need to start plugging some things in.
No, it ain't no Christmas yet.
And having watched a lot of The Office lately, that's what she said.
That's what she said. That's a great show.
Dude, I just got in it. You know, I've been an Office fan where you pick up the random, you know,
Comedy
show
Central
that's Comedy Central that's on
you
all
and
the time.
I still watch the TV. That's why we don't binge Netflix.
I don't. Well, but I said after we started watching some of The Office, we got to go back because Netflix has it all and watch from the start. Which it's just outstanding. It's so inappropriate. It's only, you know, I think they're done not quite 10 years ago, between 5 and 10 years ago when the show ended. How anybody would put it on TV today? I mean, it was like on NBC or something, right?
Yeah.
And yet now people would be going crazy.
Oh yeah.
Over Michael Scott and half the stuff he does.
Oh yeah.
And yet that's the humor of it. It's kind of like when I grew up, a big show back when I grew up when I was a kid, Archie Bunker.
All in the Family. I knew that's where you're going.
And you go and watch that stuff now, and you cringe. I mean, there's times the Ward and I are sitting there watching the show, and we're like cringing at some of the stuff he's doing, the inappropriate stuff. But it's funny, but it's like, oh my God, you can't do that. Oh no.
Oh, everything is you can't do that anymore, right? Everything is you can't do that anymore. Well, they used to. And you know what we used to do? Not get offended by every little thing. But I digress. So
No, you tell the truth.
Do you know what I mean?
Which is a digression.
Yeah. I mean, comedy's just meant to be funny. There was somebody, did you see after Bill Burr did Saturday Night Live? There are a bunch of people tweeting, man, that audience is so uncomfortable right now. Just fart and have a laugh and let it go and just know it's comedy. You know, Dave Chappelle doing the same thing. Chris Rock used to do that. Chris Rock was funny as hell. Made fun of white people all the time. It was funny as hell. I'm sorry. So anyway, yeah, it's funny because The Office is. Have you heard the line yet from Andy? The guy with the anger problem.
Mm-hmm.
He is the greatest line ever, and it chokes me up sometimes when I'll catch it on the weekend because when it's not football season, I will waste half a Sunday in the winter just watching The Office marathon.
Dude, Saturday I watched, or not this Saturday, but 2 Saturdays ago, I got up around 10. I was still laying in bed at 3 o'clock, just watching,
just passing the time, right?
Which is funny because I'm on season 4 now, watching from the beginning, and when I caught on that, I think it was like season 7. Michael just left, and it was kind of in that transition, and the redhead comes in, and who I loved on Doctor Who, the one season she was on Doctor Who, so, yeah, anyway.
Well, Andy's got a line, Andy Bernard has got a line where he says, and to me it's right up your alley, and it's going to kick you in the gut the moment you see it, because it says this whole thing's wrapping up. But Andy said, I wish somebody would tell you when you're in the good old days. Or it's something, I'm screwing the line up.
I think he just said that, yeah.
It was, and it's so true, Sometimes I think back to the zoo all the time where I'm like, man, if we only knew what kind of fun we were allowed to have.
Oh, my God.
When Don Martin left and I realized what kind of wall he was to the building.
Oh, yeah.
Jeez, man. So people don't know, like, the life of a radio host, and I do have some things I want to bounce off you, but it's the Ramblin' Man podcast.
The Zoo Crew Redo, a.k.a. the Ramblin' Man podcast.
Because anything and everything's fair game.
Although Dover told me he listened last week, that was funny.
Good. I hope so. That one felt pretty intense at times. Do I
need to wake you up over there?
No, I was, me. When you ramble, you also forget what path you left. I'm like your dad driving around going, is that the damn road I meant to get
Squirrel
on? What the hell? What road are we on? Damn it. Anyway, when Don Martin left, Don Martin was our program director, and I never had a good appreciation for what a job he did for us as a zoo. We talk about, I want to make it clear, because I don't want to misrepresent this thing. It's called the Zoo Crew thing because we had like 10 people working on it. You and Dave were the hosts of the show. You guys were the talent about it,
But the number of people that came in and out of our lives and stuck for a while, Charles Johnson co-host one year when Dave was there. Mark Schlereth kind of got his tea started in radio with us. Ashley, who's working with my daughter now.
Ashley Sayers,
up at
Matt Meehan, Patrick Watkins, Jason Luber, Alan Jackson. The list, Casey Lamb, the list goes on and on and on. We're probably forgetting some people. Gloria Neal, Amani Ali.
Chip the Buffalo, I can't remember Chip's name. Julie Browman.
Browman. Kate, was it Kate the Awesome Intern? Didn't you used to tell me about her too?
We had Kate the Awesome Intern.
Yeah.
That's right, yeah.
I mean, there was just this whole crew of people. But you and I, you were the personality on air. I was the producer. You really taught me a lot. Like the backbone of what I learned there is why I've been able to be successful. But you and I usually were fighting the same battles, right? And it was trying to be funny and trying to do things out of the box and trying to break the rules and tickle the line of what you could get away with on the radio. I always said the Zoo was an FM show on an AM station, and that's what made it so amazing. But the amount of crap that Don kept from us, once Don Martin left to go to L.A., the amount of salespeople up in our business, the amount of people just forcing ideas on you, trying to tell you how you're going to do your show, it was unbelievable, man. Like, we started going to lunches to get the hell away from them.
The salesman in charge of the station. I mean, that just the beginning to the end, kind of,
So, it's
we had a nice run. We had a 12-year run.
You guys could have gone longer too. If people had just left it alone.
Yeah.
People would. You know what? Sometimes, I'll tell you what. If you're a radio person out there, or you're a young person, or whoever, you're a manager. If people seem to like it and you don't get it, that's okay. Sometimes plenty of things are popular that aren't meant for you. And we had you know what? I'll just name her. Chris Olinger was the boss. And you know what? Chris had some very human moments with me where I appreciate her, but for the most part, she was tough to work for. Okay. Right. Now, again, I think she was brought in to crack the whip and instill some she was kind of like changing from the players coach to the discipline coach, okay? But just because you don't get it as a boss, if people are consuming it, especially in a creative business like we're in, why don't you just cash the checks, man? I just have never understood that.
No. Well, but everybody wants a stamp. You know, everybody wants their own stamp on things and how things are going to get done, and that was part of it. And we were listening. It was a locker room back there.
It was.
You know? And I don't
we
think
were the toy department.
You know, we said things on air inappropriate. We didn't really necessarily act inappropriate with each other or anything like that. You know, Skippy, by the way, our first board off, Skippy Al, was I gave him a dip one time. And he was sitting in the studio with me, and I'm doing the show by myself. We're in the old studios downtown. And I look up, and I just forgot I'd gave him a dip. And it's been 35 minutes, and he hadn't spit or nothing. And I look over at this guy, and he is about to fall out, man. He was about to fall out. I had to get him, took a break. But no, there was a lot of people, man. And that was the cool thing with our group. Team, if you will, everybody contributed. I don't think there was a soul that came in and was involved with our show that didn't do something very positive for that show. You know, Kate, the awesome intern, she would go down there, we'd call her live, and we'd make her do stuff in the grocery store and ask people dumb questions and stuff. And she was so innocent and had this funny voice. It was just perfect stuff. It was absolutely perfect. So I mean, everybody that was on that program, you know, really contributed something. And you're right. I always, Don was great. He got it. And listen, I think a show like that. And I tell you what, here's another thing. I don't know if maybe as I get older, you think more about it, but I still there's a lot of guys in town that are in and on the air that are early in their careers compared to where me or even you are at right now. Kind of their first show they remember was the Zoo.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of dudes in town that go, man, I love when you and Dave were doing this, da, 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 da. And I think once you start hosting a show, you realize, and some bosses don't understand it, and I know owners don't, that, and I had talks with Lee Larson, our general manager, and Donnie got it because he came from the producing side of it, that the most important people around us are the person running the board, the producer, a real producer. Back when you had real producers,
right?
You know,
yeah.
I mean, we had to deliver, but they had to feed it. We were the furnace that heated the house, but that furnace needed to be fed, and we had some unbelievably creative people around us all the time.
Well, but you guys, you and Dave, look, I mean, if we're being honest about the podcast, and people who listen to the show know, you and Dave and me and you, we all took turns not agreeing about what the day's topics were, right? We all had our turns wanting to do a little something here. But at the end of the day, I still remember, don't you come in here and try to tell us what we're doing. Right. Among this group, we're going to battle. And we battled.
Oh, yeah.
There were some ugly meetings some days where people were not nice to each other. But don't you come in from the outside and think you get an opinion on this thing.
You know,
you and Dave both be like, hey, now, really? You're going to, you know?
Well, it's kind of like the story. I think I told on the podcast before. I know I told on the show. And I had two little brothers that are just tough MFers.
Right.
Still are in their 50s, right? And both of them were kind of fighters, especially the middle one. And he's a couple years older than my littlest brother at the time, and my littlest brother just ran his mouth, still does, just blah, 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 blah. Well, he starts doing it to some older kids, and so it's going to be a fight. Well, they start getting a fight. And he's kind of getting his butt kicked, and Mark said, hey, he deserved it. He just run his mouth. And then all of a sudden, the other guy jumped in and threw a couple kids. He goes, that's enough. He's had enough. And they kept wailing on him. well, they're older than my middle brother, who was 2 years older than my little. He ended up just whipping both their asses. I mean, just and the point being, you can mess with us, but when it's time to stop, you better stop.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
You can come in and say, hey, why don't you try this? Okay, thanks. But now if you're going to grind us, oh, dude, and I can be mad at you. You can be mad at Dave. Dave can be mad at me. We was all coming together at that time, though, and it was like you don't want to mess with that. You do not want to mess with that. 700. What was it one time? The one line they wanted 700 pounds of sports meat or something like that.
Well, but you guys did a great job because you talked about it, and people I don't think realize. I mean, we touched on a little bit last week with where radio's gone, and I mean, I got to work a second job, and you've had to make a couple different things. We're not all pulling in the same money we used to. The things I saw you guys are driving cars. It was like free everything, and here's a car, and here, you know what I mean? Those days are gone in radio, and it's a bummer. It's too bad. But you guys, the people, like I always thought it was funny. I'd always tell people, you do realize that I'm in charge of 2 6-figure guys, and I'm making $25,000 a year. So we'll see how that ultimately works. But that's how they find it. Donnie used to always tell me, "Well, do you got it or don't you got it? If you got it, then go in there and do something damn well about it." Right? Mm-hmm. And, again.
But to his credit, he would let people get a chance to do that.
He would. Now, Donnie always, like, do you guys remember? Boy, I don't even know if it was you guys. Like, this is when I knew Don, I don't know. Don always had my back because Don was in the trenches with you guys. We had to go out to
and he started
Creek
with Irvin
Mall.
Joe.
Yeah.
He was Irvin Joe's, like, one of their first producers.
Do you remember? I want to say it was my first, it might have been, it was either my first or second Christmas with you guys. And we had to go do a Christmas remote at Cherry Creek Mall.
Oh, I remember
and
that.
they kept screwing us. And then finally I got to a point where, because Donnie's like, just handle it, man. I'm not here. This is your job. And I'm still green. Right? I'm still trying to figure this out. I still wake up fearing that I'm going to get fired if I screw something up. And so I'm talking to this Cherry Creek Mall person, and she's like, well, we're going to hook you up to our credit card line, but we may lose you if the credit card gets run. And I'm like, it's Christmas. No. We're doing a show. What do you think we're doing? It's Christmas. You're going to be running the credit card thing every 5 seconds. We had cheerleaders coming out, and I promised them they could sell their calendars. And I just was like, what do you think is going on? And I remember Donnie calling that mall and going, we're one of the biggest. That's our Donnie impression, by the way, Don Martin impression. I'm just going to let you know here's what the deal is. You got one of the biggest, if not the biggest, afternoon show coming in town, and I'm sure as hell not letting you have a line that's going to cut out every time you run a credit card. So I'll tell you this, you can keep your money. I don't care. Matter of fact, I'll write you double the check because we're not coming out. We ended up at the mall that day.
Yeah, right. I didn't even know that. That's funny. That's a funny story.
Oh, Don got on the phone and he was kind of like, all right.
Yeah.
Kind of like your story. I was getting my ass kicked, so he stepped in. He's like, let me show you how this goes down.
Let's show you how to really do this.
Show you the power of who we are.
And for those who don't know, Don Martin now is like one of the biggest radio PDs in the country.
Runs Fox Sports Radio.
Yeah, he helped start Fox Sports Radio and still does the largest sports station in L.A., but he was also on our show, another inappropriate, and that was the whole thing we wanted to do. We wanted to, and like I said, I didn't mind walking to the edge of the street, but if you're going to step in the gutter, that's on you. But you have casts of characters that would take you even a little closer. Here, hold my hand. I got a little red balloon. Don't mind the little clown in the gutter. He won't touch it. But Donnie's character was Jethro. Remember we had him as a character?
Yeah. Yeah.
Just a red, white, and blue redneck, back when it was okay to be called yourself a redneck. But he was funny. God dang, we did have some fun, man. And we did 1 or 2 CDs we put out, didn't we?
I've got the Christmas one.
I thought we did 2 straight years of Christmas.
You did another one when I wasn't in charge of the thing. I was more doing the reporting and all that.
Was pretty funny, one. I don't know how it would hold up now. I don't know if it'd be.
Oh no, I still have people and I got one hiding in my basement here somewhere. People want me to pull it out and play it, but yeah, look, when we said goodbye to you, because we put a bunch of clips and stuff together, we said goodbye to you that day, and God, half the stuff we were playing, I'm like, I don't know if we're going to get away with this. AJ was so afraid, and I'm like, he's leaving, just play it. He's leaving, just. And I was kind of a jerk because, it wasn't my job on the line. Poor AJ was in my shoes at that point.
You doing your own show by then, weren't you?
No, I was the reporter. I was doing the report and stuff.
I thought you'd gone across the street and were doing.
Yeah, and they shut it down on us. So, But again, you guys said don't get rid of him. We want him to help us, and I had to go, cut tape. So grab tape and listen to Mike Shanahan talk about in the National Football League. Do you realize? Do you know how much this is another sidetrack. I say, to be honest with you, and I realize it's all because of Mike Shanahan. He used to be honest with you, in the National Football League. I think I heard it so much now.
To be honest with you,
because I say it, and I'm always like, "Well, dummy, why wouldn't you be honest with it? Stop saying that."
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So all this other stuff you've been saying, you've been lying.
Right.
But to be honest with you, the National Football
no. But with
there's
Mike,
3 phases of the game.
This was funny with Mike. If he gave you, to be honest with you, he was about to sell you a bill of goods, and if he gave you, to be real honest with you, well, now he's just fleecing you. Now he's just. Now he thinks you're just as stupid as can be.
I loved him, and he was always good to me. A basketball guy, calling Bronco games and so on. But I remember one time, and we would have him on Tuesdays, I think.
Because it was the day off.
But maybe he was on Mondays because we had Elway on during the week also.
But that was like a Wednesday thing, wasn't it?
Yeah, I don't remember now the days. But anyway, we had Shanahan, and he came on, and it was part of the time when Dave's doing football, so I'm doing the interview. Well, and it was post Super Bowl championships when there were some rough years, I think, some 500 years.
Hey, not as rough as it is now, my friend.
We'd
go back to that kind of rough, wouldn't we?
Let's go back to Shanahan 8-8, right?
Let's
get some Shanahan 8-8 right now. Hell, let's get some Wade Phillips 8-8 right now.
Yeah, please.
But I'd said something, and the backup quarterback had to come in and play a lot. I don't even remember who it was now or anything.
Probably Hugh Millen.
I go, well, after so-and-so got hurt, you bring the back. Did you have to go with more of a vanilla offense just because the quarterback didn't get much practice time during the week, which they don't? And, well, the key word was, I probably should have said vanilla offense to one of the most creative, brilliant offensive minds in the world, right? And to be honest with you, the National Football League.
Yeah.
So fast forward the following week, and we always left on Saturday for a Sunday game. And I'm walking up the stairs to the airplane. I get up at the top. You had to wear a jacket and look nice on it. And there, standing at the top of the doorway, Mike Shanahan. I go, "Hey, Coach, how you doing?" "Hey, Scott." "Vanilla?" That's all he said. He goes, "Really? Vanilla?" I go, "Coach, I panicked. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know what to ask. I'm so sorry. I'm so blah, blah." But he waited, and that was 5 days later or whatever it was, right? Waited all the hours in between, and I guarantee you he got on the plane first probably and waited for my aunt to get on there and met me. Vanilla? Really?
And isn't it funny? That dude's like your dad, right?
I love him to death.
5.5 feet tall, but he gives you that searing look, and you're like, "Oh, I'm sorry, sorry."
Well,
Coach.
hey, I was once a player, man. I was a role guy. When the coach was a little upset with you, man, that head went down, man. You're like, "Oh, God."
See, one of my favorites.
Vanilla, really?
I think I've told it to you before, but I'm going to assume people like hearing it because people get a kick out of it when I laugh or when I tell it. My favorite Mike Shanahan story, and I like to tell it because it shows his human side, right? We're in that first, it might have been my second road trip. I can't even remember. Remember in 2006, and it was probably, I call this Plummer's last good game, I went to Pittsburgh with you guys. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
And you guys are telling me, "Hey, get on," I think you told me, "Get on bus 4.
Hey, by the way, didn't we go out the night before? Wasn't there that one? Was that the trip? There was a bunch of Budweiser people there, and so we were like drinking free all the night before.
Yeah, it was a pretty good night.
Yeah.
We went with Mark Andrew to Permanente Brothers or whatever and got those sandwiches.
Oh, I didn't go with him there. I think maybe I was the one drinking with the Budweiser guys.
Yeah, maybe you left me.
Well, listen, I've always been a fan of fine line American lagers.
Well, so we're in Pittsburgh, and we go, and you guys told me, go to bus 4 and put your bag on there. Well, I thought I was supposed to get on bus 4, which at this time is bus 1. Because you got to put your bag on a certain bus, your overnight bag.
So afterwards, when we were leaving back to the airport.
So I get on the bus. I walk up and I get up the bus, and the first thing I see is Mike's face, and I'm like, "Oh God,
no, you don't get on that bus.
This isn't the right bus."
Yeah.
But I got a set of balls, so I ain't leaving the bus. I'm not gonna run away like a little baby. I got on the bus and sat down. I went to the middle of the bus and sat. Now, Jake Plummer's on this bus. Tom Nalen's on this bus. Lepsis, there's
I'm surprised Nalen didn't come say something to you.
Well, I tried to find a seat, and, I'm like, okay, there's an empty seat. It's not around any players. I'm going to sit there. And so Nalen gets up and sits across from me. It starts staring at me, and I grab the sports section from the hotel, and I'm just trying to bury my head in the sports section. Dude, Fred gets up. Fred Fleming was the notorious for yelling at people at camp. He's walking back, and I saw Mike make a quick comment to him. And Fred walks back to the end of the bus, and I know he's coming for me. I'm convinced he's coming for me. And I was like, all right, I'll just get off real quickly. Hopefully that other bus hasn't left. Man, this sucks. Fred walks by me to the back of the bus, turns around, walks back, sits down at the front of the bus next to Mike. So we take our ride.
You probably ask, if he's taking somebody's seat, or does a player have to double up?
No, yeah, probably. I mean, wasn't. This bus was not.
No one hardly went on that.
I don't think a lot of people wanted to ride with Mike.
Yeah, it was like Mike and some offensive linemen usually.
And Plummer. Plummer was on this bus, but Jake was in his own thoughts, and I wasn't going to talk to Jake for sure. So I'm sitting there, and I'm not stupid. We get to the stadium, and I let everybody get off the bus.
Smart.
And as I get off the bus, and I'm last guy off the bus,
Fred's there.
Fred's waiting for me. He goes, Coach says he knows you're new, but this is not your fucking bus. He goes, next time, get on the right bus. Yeah. But, look, I mean, Mike knew I was with you guys, but Mike didn't have to, Mike could have made it embarrassing for me, right? And
like Nalen tried to.
Screw it, let's go. So...
Well,
that's
Nalen, but that's the early bus. You went on the early bus.
Yeah, because we had pregame to do.
Yeah, that was but you take the second one. You don't take the very first one. The second one's still early.
You guys were on the fourth bus. There was still a caravan.
Well, all I know is the early one left 30 minutes for everybody else, and then you had buses 2, 3, and 4, or 1. They called it early bus 1, 2, 3, or something. I don't know what it was.
No, you guys got on the right bus because when I got off the bus, David, you guys killed me. Dave was like, "You dumbass! What are you doing? We told you to get on this bus, you idiot." He's like, "Why did you get off?" I just said because I didn't want to, And then I went back there in 2015. Did I ever tell you who's the fat guy from Mike and Molly? Do you remember that? The fat actor. I mean, now he's in I Heart Abishola or whatever. Yeah. That guy.
Yeah.
So I'm riding up. I was with the Broncos in 2015 when they lost to the Steelers. Remember that game?
Mm-hmm.
Riding up the elevator in Pittsburgh again, back in Heinz Field, back in the scene of the crime, all that kind of crap. And that actor's on this. He's on this elevator with me. He's on because it's a VIP elevator because it is field access. And I got my Bronco gear on. I'll tell you who I'm with. I don't care.
Yeah.
Maybe not in Oakland, but everywhere else, I'll let you know who I'm with. Yeah. And he starts giving me business. He starts giving me the crap. Oh, you guys are going to get killed today. You got no shot. No shot at all. Who's this Osweiler guy? You're horrible. You're horrible. He's just riding me the whole time, leading his little crew, and they got it that day. But you know what? Fat guy, come January when the Broncos put your little team to bed, your show got canceled. Karma, bitch.
Did you ever write him a letter? You had to write him a letter.
I thought about it. Oh, people were tweeting at him. Maybe you shouldn't have said anything to Andy in the elevator after, because I told it on the air with Ed McCaffrey. I was like, that dude's because Ed was the color guy at that point. So we had that show together. As you remember, Ed was laughing his ass off.
Oh, that's funny.
So yeah, it's been. What was your favorite part of being on the Broncos broadcast? Because it's not normally game day, right? Like, to me, what I miss is, and when you left that, the crew, Dave's got stuff to do because he's coaching the high school football. And so Dave would always go out with us maybe 3-4 times a year.
Yeah.
But
maybe. Not 4.
Well, hey, as we got to high school playoff time, there ain't no socializing.
It was like the first trip and maybe one other time.
Yeah, right.
Although one year I got him, Zapp, and I would go, and we would flip, especially if we had it the team hotel.
Right.
We would draw cards or play some game after 2 or 3 bottles of wine, who was going to sign it John Beek and sign it to his room. We did it one time. I mean, this bill was like 4 something. We had like 3 bottles of wine. It was in Tampa Bay. I remember that. It was in Tampa Bay. Beautiful seafood restaurant. You had to walk on the bay out on these wooden docks like this all the way out to this seafood place. Private, nice. Boom, dark. The boy goes, yeah. I go, what room Beek in? Had a chart. Oh, he's in 238. Okay, here we go. Played some game. Ron lost. John Beek, room 238.
Did you ever figure out it was you guys?
I don't think he did. No one ever said anything. Ask the Polo about that. Never said anything. Never said anything.
Seriously, wasn't it the night before that made those trips fun? You and I were in Seattle that one time. We were going to get a tattoo again after I didn't do it in Canton.
Yeah,
we were told that we'd had too many and our blood was too thin. They weren't going to cut us up.
Yes, yeah, that happened. That happened in Seattle.
I was like, man, I want to get a tat where Pearl Jam and Nirvana were.
But didn't we go to Jimi Hendrix museum
the experience
before that?
That was awesome.
Yeah, that was really cool. And then we went down there to whatever that cool area is. Had a few cocktails, and then there was a tattoo place we did because you were going to finally get one.
Yeah, I was excited.
Unlike Cleveland, yeah.
Well, I told you, Art Bomb wasn't my place. Homeboy with his.
Don't just start making excuses. It's all excuses.
Look, will you admit in Seattle that the girl said, "Who did your ink? They didn't do a very good job." Do you remember that?
You didn't say it to me.
Yeah, they said it to you. She looked at your tattoo from Cleveland.
No, she didn't.
Yes, she did.
Oh.
Yeah.
I think she said they missed a few spots.
Whatever it was not a compliment of the artwork that was done.
That is, no. Dude, I tell you what, my ink initially started out of pure boredom. My very first tattoo was on an off day up in Greeley before the show started. My extension of that tattoo was down in Tucson during the Rockies. The John Elway Canton thing was the cross. I've got another one on my other sleeve that was an off day in Memphis. An off day in Memphis with the Nuggets. I have flowers over on my left side. Off day in San Francisco. So I got tats from San Francisco, Cleveland. Where else I say? Tucson. And San Fran, and Denver now.
Yeah.
Denver now. So, yeah, I've got the country. I've been all over the country. Memphis is one. So, but I was always bored and got an off day. Yeah, get another tattoo. Okay, why not?
Let's go do it.
Yeah.
Well, different times.
Yeah.
Do you regret any of them? Do you want to know what ruined me on actually getting one? Because I was going to come back here and get one. I was like, all right, hey, the heck with it. And Kenny Dayton, the Wizard, our guy that was 60 at the time or whatever he is, he goes, this is what it looks like when you get older. And he lifted up his shirt and he had the worst anchor from the Marines. I was like, all right, I'm not getting one.
Yeah, but it was also done in some dude's bunk aboard a ship, man. I mean, come on now.
He probably used pen ink to get it.
Yeah, some dude heated up a needle and stuck it in some big pen stuff.
In Vietnam.
Yeah. It's like Steve McQueen from Papillon. Here, let me suck on these leaves.
Yeah. Mom, do you miss the road trips? Well, I guess you don't have to, though, because you got the Nuggets. Are the Nuggets trips like the Bronco trips? Because what I loved about Bronco trips, you fly, you got the one night, you get to the stadium, it's all work, you go home. Yeah,
no, the road trips are more fun than the NBA, but then become more taxing. Like, we had one, not this past season, but 2 seasons ago, that was 15 days. That's a long time to be on the road. And when you say you're going on the road 15 days, it's not like you're going to mom's house and you stay and you can do some laundry or whatever. You're packing for 15 days. You're living out of a suitcase for 15 days. You're playing games, getting on an airplane, flying, climbing in bed about 3:30 every morning, trying to sleep in or whatever. I'm still doing the radio show on the off days. And it becomes a grind a little bit. But then after having not done it now since March 11th, you kind of miss it a little bit, to be honest with you. I miss going out. And I tell you what, another thing you miss, and I'm sure NBC and these guys still have some sort of socially distanced meetings with the teams, but local radio doesn't, anymore. We aren't traveling with the bus with the coaches or players going over to games, which I used to take the second bus on Nugget trips for George Carl, and I'd sit right beside George. And those bus rides would be anywhere from, 10 minutes to 30 in San Antonio, and talk hoops, get an idea of the day, what's going on. He'd give you, and then, the coaches saw you on the bus, and then you'd sit before the game. I get more stuff sitting before a game. All the eggheads are sitting there looking at notes and papers. And I go, well, they're great. The stats are good. You can read that. Meanwhile, the assistant coach told me this guy's really hurt, has been struggling with a shot, and now has lost confidence. Well, that to me is a bigger story than, well, he's 3 for 13. Well, here's why. You can tell me a little stat. I'm going to tell you why. And so that's what traveling with the team gives you. And you asked a while ago, you're talking about even traveling with the Broncos. I was lucky because, two things. I had become friends with Elway when I was still playing with the Nuggets. Steve Atwater and I became friends. We had that Arkansas connection. And those two guys alone gave me and helped me as much as anybody. Jim Ryan was around doing radio with us. He was very big and helpful too. And then Brian Habib was absolutely great. Kind of introduced me to the linemen, and I was actually cool. Nayland actually treated me nice. His wife loved me. Would I? And then Schlereth, obviously, And shoot, and once again, I'd always have all the stats because I didn't want to not have a stat in front of me. But it was the stuff I got from these guys, man. I remember telling you, for Shannon Shortford played Green Bay, said, dude, ball ain't touched the ground in 2 practices. He said, there is nothing they got that we're not ready for. And to the point where we got done, and Dave actually listened to me do this interview with him for the pregame. We looked at each other and said, damn, they're going to win. If you remember, they were 12.5-point dogs. And Dave and I looked, dude, they're going to win. I go, I know. And so once again, Zapolo was like a running buddy. So we go, Zap said, should we fly over to Vegas? Because we're in San Diego. So we could catch like a $99 fly to Vegas. We start thinking, and this is back before, you could easy cash and all this.
FanDuel app and all that.
No. We were going to have to get on an airplane, fly to Vegas. We said, all we have to do, and it was like, you were going to get 12 points or 8-1 or whatever. I said, if we could put it $5,000. Well, first of all, I'm sitting there, zapping those guys. But yeah, man, that's what I miss with the travel is just those relationships, and talking with guys. And now, as long as I've been doing this, especially with the NBA, guys I played with are coaches. Anthony Lynn, NFL.
Yeah.
Anthony Lynn was one of my boys when he played here and won with those first 2 Super Bowls. He was like a buddy of mine. He's the only autograph I got after the Super Bowl was an Anthony Lynn autograph. I said, dude, you got to sign this for me. You guys won that first Super Bowl. So, I just the access. I guarantee if I was in San Diego or L.A. or could go there, I guarantee Anthony would talk to me and tell me cool stuff. And that's what I miss by not traveling.
Oh, hey, you know how much, this training camp, not being able to get around guys and just talk to them and have the vets, come and show you, although, I barely know half this team with Chris Harris being gone, but you're right. You learn a lot of stuff being able to have face-to-face conversations we can't have anymore. You want an Anthony Lynn story? You want to in on the inside joke? My friend Romy Bean and I can't look at Anthony Lynn the same way anymore because Ed told us his story on the air. I asked Stink. Stink confirmed it. So it's like a 4-person joke of the incident you don't talk about, okay? But we're on a podcast, so I feel like I can. Because Ed said it on the air, and then I think Stink went ahead and gave it away on the air, too. So Ed's the witness, all right? And you probably got a story like this from your locker room days, too. They're all playing. Anthony Lynn's on the team with Ed and Stink. Stink had a razor that he used to use that he left at the facility, left it on the sink or whatever to use.
And you just pretend like you were shaving your face.
Yeah. Shaved my face. So it was an electric razor. So Stink comes in after practice one day, walks in. Anthony Lynn shaving his nuts with it. So Stink is just, he dropped his jaw. He doesn't know what to say. And Ed walked in the other door, and he sees Stink staring at Anthony with the shaver on his balls. And Ed's like, well, this is awkward. And he just got out of there. He didn't even know what to say. And I guess all Anthony did was go, Anthony Lynn goes, sorry, puts it down and walks away. And Stink's like,
it's
sorry,
yeah.
I've been shaving my face with that. How long have you been shaving your balls?
Well, just a couple times. Just a couple times, 2 or 3 times.
Romy and I, every Charger game we text because we can't look at. They show Anthony, and all I think about is him shaving his balls with Stink shaver.
Well, hey, left it out. What are you supposed to do?
I guess.
Don't tell me none of them Manscaped commercials you've done. There ain't been dudes using that in other places too.
I just was gonna say Anthony Lynn needs to talk for the Lawnmower 3.0. Get him going. Did you ever have anything like that? Did you ever have any one of those? Just kind of those funny teammate interactions. Because Ed was the funniest. Ed like didn't even know what to say, and he just laughed.
We would have done and did stuff like that, but it wouldn't have been so he would have got caught. You're going to do it. Maybe even take a picture of it.
Send it to him in the middle of a shit talk session.
And then just, have it drop down there. Dude, that looks like my razor. Man, that looks like a pair of, what? We did that stuff. We used to, oh, God, I'm not into, I haven't had anything to drink. I'm not going to get into, I got some bad stories.
Oh, I can imagine.
Yeah.
Because you talked about the boredom.
Well, we used to drop and go teammates. We do that a lot. You'd walk into a dude's room, plan for the whole night. Hey, what you going to do? Then everybody's in a conversation, watching games. So guy gets up, goes to the bathroom, drops a deuce, doesn't flush it, right? Then he comes back out, sits around for a while, goes, all right, well, let's go get dressed. We'll be downstairs in 15, 20 minutes, right? All of a sudden, you go down, leave your room. All of a sudden, you hear, mother. So, yeah, we call that a drop and go. We used to do a drop and go once in a while.
Don't you just kind of miss the goofiness?
Best one I ever did was on a college coach.
Really?
We got one of my assistant
Hold
coaches.
on.
Yeah.
Your guy from Purdue? I'm trying to remember his name.
No. Got a guy that ended up becoming a head coach at San Diego State, actually, Fred Trinkle. Good buddy. Yeah, I drop and go to him, too. And so that was that's your playing days. That's, God forbid anybody or a little more grown up.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you think it's still that way? How much do you think, have you talked to guys, how much has the locker room changed? Because you got guys that are kind of, they call them the locker room CEOs or whatever.
Right.
Worried about brand.
I don't know. There's so many people now, Andy, and I look at an NBA team, and when I was part of the Pistons and won an NBA championship, we had 12 players, another guy on the injured reserve who's an assistant GM for the Clippers now, Mark Hughes. So we had 13 guys and 3 coaches, 1 trainer. That was it. That was our traveling party right there. So now you have 15 to 17 guys traveling, 2 workout guys, 2 exercise physiology guys, 2 trainers, 3, 6, or 7 coaches. And it, the 2 PR staffs going with you now. They never travel to PR staff, except playoffs, and general managers travel. Well, general manager, I never saw a general manager travel on a trip with us, except the playoffs. So I mean, there's just so many people. You lose some intimacy. I think you probably lose a little bit of that. And I know locker room talk gets a bad word now. It's kind of a bad word. But you lose that closeness, because there's 18 coaches. There's 2 or 3 video guys traveling with you.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the traveling party, I knew it was getting out of hand. A couple years ago, I was at a Nuggets game on the road, and I'm watching, and I don't remember who it was, but there was one guy warming up. And I'm sitting by one of the assistant coaches, and I'm looking, and there's 6 other people rebounding, throwing the ball to him. I looked at this coach. I go, do you realize you have 6 coaches on the floor, 1 player? He goes, it's crazy, isn't it? I go, absolutely it is. So it's different. I think you lose some of that. You know, you're never alone. You know, I mean, when I played, there was tons of gags. You played gags on dudes all the time. We'd play them on coaches. I remember one time we came in there, it was Miami Heat, and they would sit there and won 15 games all year, right? And these guys doing a boardroom talk, and he's got all the X's and O's on the board, about 10 plays. We're like, dude, we won 15 games, we ain't no good. And so I started drawing another play up, and I would make a play up. I'd go pi 3, and I might have just lines and dudes cutting and moving. And the coach would be going through it, and also you get that play, and he go, pi 3, this point's going to hit the wing because he's cutting through, and then they're going to slice right off him like a piece of pie. And I'm like, dude, they don't got that play. I just made it up. And I'm like, so the whole team's crying. One time I stumped the coach, and he's in the middle of it, can't figure it out. Finally he goes, Bill, what the hell play? He goes, I didn't write up there. And the team lost it. This is about the 4th or 5th game I'd done this. And finally, he couldn't fake it this time because we were all coming out smiling. The team loved it, right? Everybody loved me for doing it. And finally, he got it. And to Ron Rothstein's credit, he goes, what? And the whole team fell. We were in Sacramento. Fell out, crying, laughing. He goes, Hasty, he knew it. Hasty, you right there, you son of a bitch.
You have a good laugh, though, right?
Oh, God.
But you need that, man. I got to imagine 82 games, and when you suck like you did, you need that. You had a great story today you told on the radio where you talked about you blocked Jordan and everybody ignored you on the bench.
Yeah, same team, Miami Heat. We had a close team, man. But that's and I don't get to hang around the intimate times with the team. I get to ride buses, sit by them, talk to them on the court side, post game stuff like that. Airplane. Joker will always come down and talk to us, and you could always get 1 or 2 off the cuff questions, about the game or something. I think people are starting to understand, but we've known back at the end of the airplane how funny he really is. I mean, he's, one day he came in, he got 30, he had 30 and 18. He said, dang, Joker, 30. He go, they can't guard me. And now he's done it publicly. We've had people say that they just can't guard me, in this big, goofy guy accent. But no, the intimacy, I wonder about it. I don't get to see, the private times. I don't get to see the locker room after practice. That was always a cool time. But traveling is for what we do, man, it's big. And it was hard doing the bubble things. I wonder what Dave and those guys are doing. So I know they're getting all their interviews, but they aren't getting – because Dave would sit there with – I don't think all the head coaches Dave's done now, from Wade to Mike Shanahan. I mean, he's been doing games since Wade. The things he's able to learn because, this, the interview lasts 10 minutes. They're in the room for 30.
Oh, yeah.
And so there's 20 minutes. And with Dave especially because Dave really – I mean, he's a football guy. I mean, he's talking to these guys all the time, He's getting real poop on it. So I wonder what guys like that are doing.
It's too bad. I do want to get one sports note in. If you want to hear about Drew Lock, listen to the radio. That's mainly what we're talking about. Altitude Sports Radio 92.5. You guys probably know how.
Can I just ask you one question? Put you on the spot right now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, you reach in your pocket. You're down to your last dollar.
Yep.
Last dollar is separating you from prison.
Sure.
You got to bet it on Drew Lock can play or Drew Lock can't play. Where are you putting it?
Unfortunately, right now I got to put it on can't play because here's what's driving me nuts. And you've dealt with this too. We both coached. I think we both love coaching.
Yeah.
Here's where you start to get me angry at you, okay? I don't mind correcting mistakes. That's what I'm here for. I'm here to see it and try to help you see it. When I've heard you say it on the Zoom call, I can't throw off my back foot, I can't stare down receivers, I can't keep running out to the right, I got to trust the pocket. And yet all you do is those things. Trent Green literally said during the game the other day, Drew Lock admitted to me he can't throw off his back foot. He knows he can't get away with that anymore, and he just did it right there. You got to quit telling us you can't do it, then keep doing it, man.
Yeah, that's a
I
good
can't
point.
have that. That feels Jay
point.
Cutler-like to me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
I
saying?
thought there were some moping moments like Jay Cutler in that last game, too.
Yeah, I think it's now, again.
And watch out, there's a little issue with him and Fant.
Yeah, I can tell.
Fant's got a little attitude, too, now.
Fant's, well, I don't think Judy's loving everything he's seeing either. I'm just reading body language off the sideline, and body language is big to me. You and I work in a profession. I went to communications, school for communications, okay? That was my degree, was communications. And I had to do the psychology of communication. I had to do you learn all sorts of stuff about how people – it ain't your words I'm listening to.
Nope, took
It's
the
how you're
same
giving
classes.
me the message. So –
Ain't a lot of guys sitting back with their hands behind their head right now.
no, and let's be honest. If I'm Jerry Jeudy, like, here's the other thing I worry about, just practical, okay? There's been 3 times this year where I've seen Jerry Jeudy. You know the old saying, if we're even, I'm leaving, okay? If our hips are even at any point in the route, that route's not existent. I'm going for the house call. Judy's done that 3 times. He's overthrown the ball. He's not even got it close for Jeudy to even try to make a play. Screw trying to hit him in stride so he can run it into the end zone. And it's that down the sideline throw. That's what I don't understand. Most quarterbacks aren't. They're comfortable with that because the safety ain't usually coming over and blocking that. You just got to drop it in the bucket, son. And he's throwing it way out of bounds. Where the guy, Jerry Jeudy, he showed us with Brett Rippon, he's got a chance to make a play for you. He's got no shot at the balls you're throwing.
Well, and now you wonder, coming off a 4-interception day, how confident he's going to be taking any shots.
Okay, let me ask you this, and I will preface this. I think people that know this, let's get down to the elephant in the room, okay? I love John Elway, okay? I do. It's a childhood hero of mine. The guy was like, I grew up with, there were 6 in the household. He might as well have been the 7th extended family member. He was in my living room every Sunday, okay? I actually shed a tear for the man when he won his Super Bowl because it felt like you watched your big brother accomplish something. I'm a Bronco fan through and through. I don't root for this team to suck. I don't like talking about when they suck. I'm in a bad mood Mondays when they suck like the rest of you are. I chose that I got to cover it up and plow forward and deal with the facts. So do you think, and I never thought I'd see John Elway do this because to me John Elway was the definition of competition. I like to think that I never feel like it's over, and don't you ever count me out till the clock hits zeros, because I grew up in a town with John Elway setting that example for us, okay? I don't think he wants Brett Rippon to play, because I don't think he wants to risk another 7th round or free agent nobody standing in the way of his high pick, because you can't give me any good reason at all why Brett Rippon isn't seeing some time in the 4th quarter.
Well,
You were so quick to pull Jeff Driscoll early.
I will say this. First of all, Jeff Driscoll, you knew weren't going to be the future.
Yeah, he ain't.
I will say this. I don't think Elway, I'm hoping anyway, that he doesn't have that say. Now, I think they may have conversations.
Sure.
See, I would have put Brett Rippon in actually last weekend against the Raiders, the last 6 minutes to get the ball. Why not?
Maybe in the fourth quarter, Drew's clearly hurting at that point.
Yeah, you're already seeing as the week goes for the Miami, we don't know whether Locke's going to even be able to play, so he was hurt. So why we even put him back in the last 6 minutes? You're down 26 points or whatever it was. You're not going to win. Game's over. Put your second guy in. Give him 10 more snaps, 5 more snaps, 3 more snaps. Who knows? But give him more snaps. Who cares? Protect your other guy. So I can't believe Elway, if he's right that he wants his high 2nd round pick to do good, that he would do it at the risk of the guy's health, because I thought putting him back in the last 6 minutes was at the risk of his health.
Fair enough.
And so I don't think that's I don't know, man. Listen, I have never in the 20-plus years I've done this ever called for anybody to get fired. I just don't do that. I've been fired. Ain't no good.
Not a lot of fun.
Not a lot of fun.
Scary time in your life.
Scary time. Maybe not as scary if you're making $3 or $4 million.
Sure.
It might help a little,
Yeah,
but
you got a little money to live off of.
still, it's a pride kick in the nuts moment. So I don't ever wish that. But we talked today, and their schedule coming up. You might have looked at the beginning of the season, Miami, that's a win at home. Well, first of all, the crowds don't matter at home right now. Your home field isn't there. Miami looks real.
Yeah.
So
defense is surely legit.
So you're going to give them this game this weekend?
The Broncos?
Yeah.
No.
You're going to give them that Chiefs or Kansas City game?
What about New Orleans? No.
You're going to give them New Orleans game? There's one of the
Buffalo,
Carolina. You're going to give Buffalo game?
Hey, man, if Christian McCaffrey's back, Nate had a great point today. And I knew it. I hate to pat myself on the back, but you and I both know you need the big body in defenses like Vic Fangio's run. Since Mike Purcell left, they can't stop the run the way they once did. They're not forcing teams into throwing situations, uncomfortable situations the way they once were. And so now if Christian McCaffrey gets right, and we don't know, but if Christian McCaffrey gets right, do we trust that they're going to be able to? And isn't that a game in Carolina? Isn't that another early start, which they traditionally aren't great at?
Which usually they struggle at. Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, so now you get the end of the season, you're 3-13.
You may get San Diego, or you may get the Chargers. Again, I don't know. Look,
but it's in.
You're right.
L.A.
I know. Scott, I'm with you. Here's the way I look at Drew Lock. If you don't want him to draft a quarterback, then you give him a record that they don't get a pick from one of the good ones. But if you're in the top 5 again, you got to draft a quarterback. You can't keep passing on this. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And it may be a bit of a reach. I don't know. It just is. It's too bad. It's too bad because when Drew Lock actually gave us the fourth quarter, standing in the pocket and reading the field and throwing to the progressions where the play, because he showed he's got it in there.
There are moments.
There are moments, but he doesn't want to. He's not listening to the coach.
Well, I'll say this: I never thought Osweiler was the guy.
Right. But he could have been a better bridge than what you've dealt with recently.
Maybe. But I never thought he was the guy. To be honest with you, I just think he was too big. To be honest with you, too tall, too lanky. But whatever.
There's something to that. He had a very long delivery.
And Drew Lock has shown he's got talent.
Yeah.
He has got an arm. He's got the ability. I like some of his press conferences. I think. You just mentioned at the start of this podcast, karma. You got your show canceled right after messing with me. Well, how's Drew Lock played since that press conference where he said, "Yeah, a bunch of people criticized me that couldn't do what I do."
I know.
Well, you know what? I think there's a whole bunch of dudes in the media in Denver could throw 4 picks.
Well.
I mean, hey, listen, I've had three shoulder surgeries. I bet I could throw 4 picks on a Sunday.
I'll tell you this, and you know me. Look, I I think you know this about me. I respect the athletic ability of it because I've tried to play it. I know that's hard. I know that we all can't do it. But I'm going to tell you this. Normally I don't try to let that stuff bother me. It's water off a duck's back. You're a pro athlete. You're paid to do things. I've been nothing. I've, for the most part, paid to do my stuff. But I'll tell you this, you're going to be one of us that ain't getting paid to do it here. Pretty soon you don't quit doing it the way you're doing it. So I wouldn't get too on that high horse. The thing that bothered me when he said that was, here's what bothered me. I don't care if you feel that way. I really don't, because I get it. We can be a pain in the ass in the media. Yeah. I get it. And you're dealing with more of it than anybody's ever had to with social media. But you had played 11 bad quarters and had 1 good quarter. That's not the time to be giving me the touchdown dance. You played 1 good quarter, bro. 1. You guys went 7 quarters without scoring a touchdown. That you got to come in and be humble and then take your victory lap at the end of the year when the game is done. You did it way too. You know what? When he made those comments after the Charger game, it felt to me like the wideout signaling first down when your ass is down 45-10 and you picked up a first down. Why don't you calm down on that? Okay.
Felt like Deshaun getting his 30th goal in a 6-1 game, losing, right?
And we're just like, all right, bro, this isn't helping anybody. Yeah. Ultimately, we'll see what happens with this team. I hate talking about it, but you and I are already in the mud with it. Don't you feel like a sale's got to be on the horizon of this thing? Pat Bowlen would not be happy with where this thing's at. I think Joe Ellis knows it. I think John Elway knows it.
But they don't
can't keep suing.
Listen, Joe and his people are business people. They're not football people. They proved that with McDaniels. You don't have an owner. You don't have somebody go down in John Elway's desk, because Pat would be in his office every morning. What's going on? He'd probably sit in the meetings with John and Fangio, right? I mean,
Oh, yeah.
So, but you don't have that. You don't have. There's nobody. So I think that struggles. By the way, do you want to hear a funny stat? We're about ready to get done, are we?
No, we got all the time we need, baby.
But I got to pee. Do you realize that Wayne Gretzky, you could take every goal he ever scored in the NHL and just with assists, he'd still be the leading scorer in NHL history?
I've heard that it was Gabe Landeskog was talking to us about that. Isn't that insane?
Is that crazy
That
or
is
what?
why you are the great one.
Because I was watching when Dustin Johnson won the Masters, and he's kissing Paulina Gretzky, right?
Yeah,
Big
good
kiss.
for you.
Oh,
Good for you.
Good for you.
Good for you.
Good for you.
Tip of the cap, sir.
Tip of the cap. But I'm sitting there saying, wow, here's the best golfer in the world right now, kissing the daughter of the greatest player in hockey ever. And I'm like, well, Dustin Johnson will never be the GOAT in golf.
Nope.
He's the best number one in the world, which, I mean, think about that.
It's his time, right?
We're talking the world. World. We're talking, he's the best in the world. Pretty amazing. Wayne Gretzky's the best in the world of all time.
Yeah.
And I started thinking about that, and I guess Tom Brady would probably get the most votes after, but there's no other sport that there's a solidified, unanimous, greatest player of all time in no other sport. And I know most people say Brady because of the championships. A whole lot of people wouldn't say Brady.
Yeah.
A whole lot of people in the middle of the country wouldn't say Brady.
No.
Might be wrong. People in Chicago might say Walter Payton. Right?
Joe Montana still
Joe
gets his
Montana.
arguments. Peyton Manning still has his supporters.
Hey,
John, look, man, John didn't have a lot of help with some of his teams, all right?
Joe Montana never lost a Super Bowl.
No, that's
4-0.
pretty damn good.
So, I mean, but think about it. Wayne Gretzky, is there any argument in hockey that the greatest player of all time is Wayne Gretzky?
Even the current players don't even try to argue it.
No one. It's over.
Yeah.
It's done.
Yeah.
Like boxing. I mean, we want to think Muhammad Ali, the greatest of all time. Pretty damn good. A whole bunch of other dudes that other people. There's an argument there.
Dude. So real quick.
There ain't no discussion in hockey.
You're right. We got to get one note in before we let you go. Because I was listening to the show, you got me all hyped up about Drew Holiday, and unfortunately they didn't want to spend the money for that. Where do they go from here? What's the right move? Because you were the sales guy that had me ready to sign the paperwork on the Drew Holiday car. If he was a car, I'd be buying that automobile. I was ready to sign the paperwork because it sounds like of everybody available, he'd have fit the culture and what they were. And you get so now what? Because I'm disappointed. Because I will say this, man. I love what Tim Connolly's done. I would just say, Tim, look at the Rockies, look at whoever. You can't fall in love with this roster, man. Everyone else making moves. You can't fall in love with the roster yet, can you?
Was this still on? Hello?
That'll be a no.
No. And I've said it before, and this is me being politically correct. I thought it was going to be the hardest year in Tim Connolly's career because you don't have a great pick. Probably a pick's not going to come in and change your team. Hope you do. Hope you get lucky and guy excels. Been low first-round guys that have. Manu Ginobili was the last pick in the second round. I'd take a Manu Ginobili on this team.
You found Joker second round, right?
He changed it.
In the middle of a Chalupa commercial.
Yeah. But there's going to have to be hard decisions. And what most of the bloggers in town have bought into, and even some guys in the mainstream media, is we're going to keep growing within. Okay. You'll be good. They're going to be very good. Can they win a championship that way? I don't know.
Well, I'll say this. What I'm concerned about is I saw the Rockies fall in love with their 2007 squad. They got a little bit more out of it after manager change in 2009, but for the most part, that was not a long-term kind of deal. You've got a window open absolutely now. I Andy Lindahl, would love to see you make a move that says we believe the window's open and we're going to jump through it with whatever it takes. So that's just me.
Did you ever watch Godfather 2?
No. Where they went out to Vegas and they tried to expand the empire and all that?
Reno. Yeah,
Reno?
Yeah.
Okay.
And they're about ready to go to war. And the longtime consigliere, who was their stepbrother, Robert Duvall, names somebody else as a consigliere. He says, "You're not a wartime consigliere." There's building franchises up, and Tim Connolly should get paid and should get promoted and should get talked about in a very positive way. But now we will see, because you're now in the battle. You've now built yourself. You're now on the battlefield. You have earned the right to be on the NBA battlefield. Are you a wartime consigliere? And that's going to be a question. If Michael Porter Jr. jumps up, shoots 43% from threes, and averages 18 points a game, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right to wait for the team. If Bol comes up and gets you 12 and 8 and can eat up 18 minutes a game for you, you're absolutely right. But what if they don't? Be interesting to see.
Yeah.
And listen, you want to gamble that way? Gamble that way. That's cool. You're there. But, they haven't had shooting. Last two playoffs they've got knocked out. The biggest reason they got knocked out is they can't shoot the basketball. And you don't add anybody. That it's kind of like what's Leggy always say about accuracy in quarterbacks in basketball or in football.
Usually doesn't get better at the next level. There you go. Well, with that, let's go get a tattoo. I'm bored.
I need one.
All right, we'll try to check
Are they
in.
open?
We'll find out.
Should they be essential?
I don't know. Acupuncture is.
Well, just put some ink in them acupuncture needles.
All right, we'll try to talk to you next week. Not sure how it's going to work out. We got Thanksgiving coming up, but you and I got plenty of Thanksgiving stuff we could have a little fun with. So thanks for listening. This is a longer version. We love you. Subscribe, Spotify, iTunes, wherever you get your podcasts. We'll talk to you next week.